In today's tutorial, we're making a beautiful little sugarcraft posy based on the film The Jungle Book. It's a firm favourite from my childhood, and actually it's full of great music, that one. I hope you enjoy the tutorial. Don't forget, links to everything you might need is in the description below, and give us a like and subscribe. So what have we got? We have got the prickly pears or pawpaws or whatever it is. They're not melons, just for the record. And you guys, you can help me decide later. So I was trying to think if there was a way to put prickles on them, but it was going to get awful complicated with like trying to stick something in it or whatever. So I ended up drawing them on, and for once I remembered that I actually own a black food felt tip, because usually it's you guys that remind me that that's sitting in the drawer. So yeah, you can help me decide whether one represents the prickles via little spots or little lines. So we've got those. Some bananas, which is a really difficult word to spell because it gets very confusing.
Do you just remember the Gwen Stefani song? I
should. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, I can't even remember what that song was called, but that's the banana song.
Yeah, B-A-N-A-N-A-S. There's a lot of N's and A's and S's I can't spell at the best of times. Some little flowers, and then a variety of leafish things. And then we have these here wee berries. And then my plan is to make a curly snake tail to poke up, which I think I will do first, actually, because I haven't made that yet. And then he will have a little bit of time to dry.
Well, you can make it from.
So I'm going to take some flour paste, and is that going to be enough? I think that's going to be enough. I'm just going to make it very pale brown colour, I think. I'm literally going to roll a snake, very much in a plasticine sort of theory way of doing it. I might go a touch browner than that, and then what we'll do is we'll paint some detail on him. So some pale brown, which I have just coloured with a little tiny bit of our brown food colouring. Because remember, at the risk of stating the obvious, you can add just a teeny tiny little bit. So if you want paler colours, you just use less colouring because you're adding it to a white base. So you can see just the very palest of browns there, which I'm going to roll into a snake. So I want it to be slimmer at one end, or tapered at one end. And the trick with this, can you see that I'm using my fingers like that? And then you can move them, and it's partly it's the rolling and then spreading them out that makes it get longer. Right, that should do. So I had to look it up earlier because I couldn't remember if Car was a rattlesnake or not, and he is not a rattlesnake. He's just a big snake. That's what he's defined as, is a big snake. So I didn't know if he was going to need a rattle in the end. And now my theory is, like, let me just grab some stuff for scale. This may be a little on the long side here. I want to wrap it. See, I don't want it to be like a straight curl. I want it to be fatter at the bottom, like with a like an ice cream cone.
Tapered.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob. So I'm just going to try and do it by hand, I think. And I'll wrap it fairly tight because we're going to run out of snake a bit quickly otherwise. Something like that, I think. And that should, if I actually if I make the underneath just a little bit tighter. And there's his tail. So if I keep an eye on that as it sort of sets, I'll be able to sorry, Victoria. I should be able to make sure that that sticks itself up. And what I think I might do is just heat up a wire and shove it basically through the whole thing. So I'm going to heat up my wire, and what I'm going to try and do is shove it up this side so that it sort of passes through all the bits and sort of holds them together at the same time. This may work, it may be, oh, burning fingers, ow. Right, so I didn't do a very good job of that because halfway through I realised that it was my fingers that was burning. Right, yes, if you wanted to add some texture to it, so I'm going to paint him later on, but the best way to do it is with a drinking straw, and then you can just come at it at an angle like this. I don't know if you want to zoom in on that. Yeah, and because you're holding the straw at an angle, you can very easily create these sort of little half moons that make a scaly effect. But pretty much all of the leaves for this I've just made with just a little tiny touch of our green, and then I've used the dust to sort of dress them up colour wise, and I'm just being super lazy and just dabbing it on the edge of the pot there. And we're going to knead that in really well. So you just got a very pale green as a base colour that I'm using for pretty much everything this evening. I will do these ones first. So kind of made up. I quite like them. They're sort of jungly. And it will, what I'll do with these in the end is pop some little berry things in the middle, which I like to think of as like they're a fruit of some sort. I'm not sure what, but I couldn't do a thing without any berries. So we will do those first, and I've used the multi-use petals and leaves, the muffles. And I've just used the two smallest sizes to do them. So let's get him rolled out. And then these I'm going to put onto 28 gauge wire, so just nice and thin. Right, so I have my little leaves. So that was my small and second size of the muffle cutters, which, just for context, there's all 5 of them. So I'm just using the 2 littlest ones there. And Jane, yes, that's lovely. Honestly, like, it's so nice to work with. It's so nice to work with, and you guys are you're gonna love it, I hope. It's really nice to work with, and it's sort of the best thing about it is that, like, it dries solid, of course, but it's not super brittle, which means that yes, you can break it. Well, that's why I can't find my ball tool, because it was in the paintbrush pot. That yes, obviously, of course, they can break. Any sugar flour can break, but they're not super like sneeze in the wrong direction and it's going to shatter into 1,000 pieces, which is super exciting. And yeah, it's cool. I'm excited. I'm excited. So we're going to have a week of, well, lots of photographing, and then it means Chris and I can go through the awkward procedure of photographing me with it, because we always enjoy that, don't we, darling? I don't think he's listening.
Sorry, I'm reading messages and I'm trying to find that link.
So I just ball tooled around the edge of these just to thin it a little bit so that we remove that kind of harsh cut edge. And I'm just using my Dresden tool, and it's that nice rib at the back there rather than the point of it. And we're just going to do just the one line down the centre, and that's enough detail on these because it's the colouring and stuff that makes them. So we've got that, and I'm going to pop these onto some 28 gauge wire, which there should be. I've been making a million different things today, so the mess is a little extra. Thank you, guys. And the congratulationsing is very much appreciated because it's all like, it's cool. It's super exciting. Right. So I'm going to make a couple of little twiddles, which I'm sure most of you have seen me do this before, but just in case, you want to start with a little sausage. We're going to take our wire and we are going to dip it into a wee bit of glue. and I tend to dip it in the glue and then just sort of rub that off on the back of my hand so that it's glued but we're not swimming in the glue. And then you're going to take a little sausage of paste, insert it onto the wire, and then twist and twiddle that down like so. And if you find you're sticking, then of course usual rules apply. You can either go for a little bit of Trex or a little bit of corn flour. Right, and then all I'm going to do is pop these here, stick a wee bit of glue. Do you know what, my pot is on the opposite side than it usually is and it's throwing me off. So a little bit of glue on each of these, and as you can probably guess, I'm going to put this longer leaf onto this one here, and then I'll put these two on the little ones, like so. And then I always like to use the back of my little finger, that nice flat bit there, just give it a gentle press so that everything is attached. You can pinch the bottom shut there, and if you wish, sort of twist that down a little bit as well. And then there you go, these are not the neatest twiddles in the world. Oh, you guys are the best.
Whoa.
Honestly. And then what I've done is I've made them curl backwards a bit. You can see there, so it's kind of splaying up and out. So we're just going to turn it over, pop your finger on the wire and pull up gently so that the whole leaf gets that sort of backwards curl. We can then pinch that so that it's a little bit concavey shaped, and then just pop it aside to dry or into a little bit of polystyrene or whatever you've got. But the trick is turn it over, gentle finger, and then gently pull that tail up there. And you'll get a much nicer curve than if you try and hold it and bend it back, if you do it like that with the wire. So that is that leaf. So that's those ones. I have also used the muffles to do these ones, and there is an undusted and naked one here. So that is, in fact, I'm going to pop just a little bit more green in there for ever such a slightly darker shade. Okay, so again, I'm going to roll this out nicely. Yeah. A little bit of corn flour so that we're not sticking. There we go. And then I used, I think, yeah, the biggest muffle, like so. And then to do those little cutouts, I just took one of the smaller cutters. Make sure you're using the pointy end, not the rounded end. And then you're just going to come and nibble a little cut out of the edges there. And you can do a smaller cut, a bigger cut. It's very non-specific. You can see it much better on that pink there. So you can see where I've just chopped those bits out. We will then run our ball tool around the edge. And again, you're looking for a little bit of shape, but mostly it's just about kind of thinning out and softening that cut edge. And then what I did with these ones was, again, Dresden down the centre. And for these ones, the round end is the top. And then I've just come and used it to pop some little sideways lines. And I'm kind of, as I do it, I'm kind of matching the line up with the cut in the leaf each time. I'm going to pop that on a 26 or a 24 gauge wire, so it's just something a little bit stronger because it's going to be a longer, heavier leaf. So again, wee bit of glue there, and then we'll pop that in there and twist it down. again, press that on. And then for this one to dry, if you've seen many of our lives or done the classes, I do like a homemade former. So this is the same as I used for the rusters actually. It is in fact the exact same piece of paper. And all I've done is just folded it into a concertina shape. But then we have these perfect little troughs that we can pop the leaf in like that. It means instead of drying flat, it's going to dry with a little bit of a shape. And of course you can adapt whether you want a very sort of steep bend in it or indeed a shallower one. Okay, so our third type of leaf is this one. Slightly duller shade of green, which I wanted to do so that it would show up next to these other ones that we've got going. So again, I've used just a tiny little bit to colour the paste, but rather than the like green, I've used the leaf green. Right, so I'm going to roll him out, and then I'm just going to hand cut these leaves, or if you've got a cutter a similar shape, of course you could use that, but I would encourage you to hand cut them, because learning to hand cut shapes, like it can be super useful with flower making. Kay has put an answer there, Chris, if you would do Jackanory and read it out for me, please. Actually, give me 1 second. So I'm going to cut the leaf shape. This is the kind of shape that we are aiming for. So we're going to sweep up one edge. So you can see just very, very simple leaf shape. And then the plan is to try and mirror that shape coming up the other edge. And if it's not a perfect match, don't worry, it's a leaf. That's it. So leaf shape. Central vein with the Dresden tool. I have a twiddle. A little bit of glue for the twiddle. We're gonna pop that on like so, and then oh, here we are. Give the end a little pinch just so it stays put, and then I will pop this onto my homemade former again. And it's just so that there's a little bit of shape to them. They're more interesting if everything isn't flat, you know, you've got a bit dynamic shape. Oh, let's make some bananas. Right, we'll do bananas, pawpaws, and then the little flowers there. Yeah. So I have got a nice bright yellow, and we just need to make little banana shapes. So they're about 1 inch long, so we'll knead it nice and well. And then roll a sausage, emphasise the roll either end to make this shape. Right, so straight bananas, if you will. And then I'm just going to use my knife to just pop some lines in it, like sort of banana-y lines, like so. Just for the record, whilst this knife is excellent for sugar crafting, it is in fact quite blunt, because I know, freaks you out sometimes. Yeah, exactly. And then we'll just curve them slightly. Suddenly they look very banana-ish. They look like those wee little sweeties. You know, the like sherbety, powdery
I know what you mean.
thingies. So how I've done the bananas is to heat up, this is a 24 gauge. Heat up the wire, choose a banana, and shove that in there. And then what I did was use a little bit of glue, a little bit on that side, to stick the banana on there and sort of pinch the end so they were together like on a bunch. Bananas come in bunches, right? Yeah, they must do.
Yeah.
And just sort of gather it together at the base there. And once that is dried, Oh, I've lost my curve. There we are. We've got, I did one with 3 bananas and one with 2 bananas. I did these tiny, teeny weeny little tiny berries. So this is just flour paste and plenty of magenta in it to get a nice bright pink. I'm going to use some 28 gauge wire for these, which, to be honest, these are so small you probably could actually use something slimmer than 28 gauge, but it's fine. And they are just teensy tiny little balls, like really small. We're talking like half the size of a petit pois, I think. Right, there's 2 ways that you could do this. We can, so I'm not worried about the black underneath because we're not going to be able to see that, so don't worry if your wire burns. You can either A, wire a few of them. You want, I think I've got a little cluster of 3, 1 of 4 and 1 of 5. So you can either wire a bunch and then whilst it's still wet, squash them together and then pop some tape around that. Grab some tape. I've just grabbed whatever came out the drawer here, so ignore the colour of it. And the reason for doing this is that you then get this lovely, almost blackberry-ish squishy shape where they're sitting very close to each other. So that's one way you could do it. Or the other way I was thinking is that we could probably do it a bit like we've done the bananas and maybe have 1 or 2 on wires and then just use some glue, yeah, look, perfect, to squish the other ones on. Like whatever you prefer, really. Whatever you prefer. And yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's going to look nice sitting in the centre of our mystery green bits.
Berries.
Yeah. We want some bright pink and some green.
Is that a citronella candle?
It isn't. It's from IKEA.
Just one of the job lot, massive
Yeah.
bags of tea light.
I did have citronella. We do have citronella ones somewhere because I get eaten. I don't think it makes any damn difference when you're outside and the midges are out, but it smells nice. Okay, so lines. Lines is what we will do then, guys. Okay, I know that for later. Basically, this is an egg shape with a ball and a bigger ball. That's it. And then the colouring and so on is what does it. I'm going to do these on 24 gauge again because once you've got, like, you can see even that there's a bit of bounce in it because this is all quite heavy. I just want a bit, I don't know, about that long, give or take. I'm going to do the pink bit first, so we'll roll a ball and then just roll it in one direction and you're going to get that perfect little sort of egg shape. Heat up in the candle. Worth mentioning that the thicker your wire, so the lower the gauge number, the longer you need to heat it into the candle for it to heat up, because of course it's thicker, so it's going to take longer to get hot. And then I'm going to do just 2 balls of green. I'm just going to use what I've got here and split it. Not quite in half because I want a slightly smaller one and a slightly bigger one. Oh gosh, Jackie, I'm glad to hear you're back home. So those are completely the same size, which I couldn't have done if that's what I'd been trying to do. So let me pinch a little bit there. So I've got a slightly smaller one and then a slightly bigger one. And these we just want to be just round. I'm going to take a little bit of my glue, pop it under the pink bit and a bit onto the wire. Slide the small one up first. A little bit more glue on that one. Slide the second one up. And then just to help keep it in place, that second one there, you can give it a little pinch and a twist so that it will stay on the wire. So that's the whole, like a kebab, exactly like a kebab. So that's the whole. Are these the prickly pears or the pawpaws? I mean, what?
I don't know.
So I have that. I also did some ones that don't have the fruit on them yet. They've just got the cactusy bit. We've eaten prickly pears somewhere.
Yeah, I've definitely eaten prickly pear.
Might have been in Israel, where I think they just grow. Somewhere more exotic than here, anyway. Or in Egypt, I don't know. Paler pink. This is an optional little extra, just because, you know, why not? So slightly paler pink, which I'm going to roll nice and thin and pop a little bit of corn flour on because I want to cut out a teeny tiny blossom. So this is one of the PME plunger cutters, and I'm not sure if it's the smallest one, but you, like,
Probably pretty close.
there's my finger, it's small. Oh, apparently a pawpaw is a prickly pear. I'm just going to cut one of these, pop him onto my petal pad, just thin him out ever so slightly, and then we'll pop a dot of glue on the top there, and then you just want like a wee ball tool or something. This should probably do it, the cone thing, to try not pick it up. So I'm going to stick it on the top there, and then if you just sort of press into it slightly with the cone tool, that will stick it, give it a little middle, and you can make it stick up, and then that's the, I mean, you know, extra added details and stuff. So those are our prickly pears. We've done the bananas, we've done all the leaves, it's just the wee flowers. Right, so these little flowers, they're just little flowers. I mean, you know, whatever. Which I've made with, oh, as it happens, the largest blossom cutter in that set of PME ones, which, as you can see, vary quite a lot. That is, if I grab a ruler for a wee second there, that is about 2.5 centimetres across. So just a blossom cutter, doesn't matter what. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use the veiner from the Blossom Sugar Art Petunia set. This is probably my most favourite flower veiner in the world ever because you can use it for so many things. And we're going to do a little bit of 24 gauge wire again, which a cleverer person wouldn't have put down. Here we are. And we're going to make a little Mexican hat flower. So I will knead my paste really well and make a point on it like this. And then I'm going to push that point into the middle hole on the petal pad. And then it comes up and you get that sticky up bit. And I can only assume that that is why it's called a Mexican hat. Whenever they're pink, I always think they look like those mushroom sweets.
Yeah, they do.
I'm going to pop him on there, and you want to use something that you can use as a tiny rolling pin. You could use a cake pop stick, which is what I always use, but failing that, you could use the end of a paintbrush. I have done this with a pencil, like whatever. And you're just going to come and roll out around that point just to thin it. And then these, which you may or may not know, any of your plunger cutters, if you're careful, will come apart. So there's the button, a spring or two, the pushy outy bit, oh, and then what remains is the cutter. Because of our sticky up bit, you've got to take it apart to use it if you're using one of these. And you just want to line it up over the middle and cut it like so, and then just poke it out. She says.
Can you not blow on the other end?
Yeah, probably could actually. There we are. And if you've done that, so the springs.
Sure you remember how you took
Well,
it
the
apart?
springs go in first, so you can thread the springs onto that. Hold that bit. The other end goes in, and then it will click that together. And then no, it has. It's there. It's fine. I know, just saying. Right. Let's put corn flour on the mould, and then I like to pop a little bit of corn flour onto my fingertips, so that I can pop that on the pointy end of the mould, and just gently press down. And that, which I hope you can see on the video there, it's going to give us these glorious veins, give it a little bit of shape, which we can then pop back on there in that bigger hole. And if you want to, we can just use a little ball tool to just go around the edge. That was the candle. And I think the other thing, if I remember rightly, that I did earlier was just use my Dresden to sort of drag and press in between each petal, just to give a little bit more definition between the petals there. And then I'm also going to come and just give each petal a little pinch. Dory's been awfully rude today. She's obviously taken a naughty pill. I've bent a little hook into that, dip it into a wee bit of glue, dab it off so it's just a little bit. And then we're going to insert that through the middle. And the trick if you're doing this is make sure that your wire passes through the thickest part of that peak on the back. So you don't want to stick it out at an angle, it needs to go through it. And then we'll pull it down just below the surface and give it a good old pinch around the wire. You can neaten the edge slightly, end slightly if you wish. And then I'm just going to kind of caress the petals there.
Caress the petals.
So that it has a better shape. Like so. And that's it for them. These ones, we're just going for some green. I'm just going to use, I think it was lime green followed by a little bit of leaf green there. Find an appropriate brush. So as always, when you are dusting, we're going to take a little bit of our colour out of the pot and sort of work it into the brush like that. And what I would advise with these, because they're bent back, you can't dust them on the paper because you'll break them. So what I tend to do is I'll hold it between my thumb and middle finger, and then support it with my first finger. I'm just going to brush up from the base there. Do you know what? I might even do these just lime. And that is it. And I might even be brave and do two at once. So it's just repetitive brush strokes from the bottom up. So that you get a deeper colour at the bottom and it fades out towards the top. It looks as if on these other ones that I have actually then popped just a wee hint of leaf green at the bottom there, just to darken it up. Okay, so that's those ones. Dead simple on the dusting there, nothing fancy. We've then got these ones, which have like a hint of stripiness to them. Now, I think, looking at it, that I started off with some lime, which has made that nice and bright. possibly a little hint of leaf on the edges there, and then we're going to want some dark deep green. With a
So Claire says she's terrified of dusting.
oh no, oh we can't be having that.
Lorraine says she's still a newbie, still learning.
Oh no, it's like the dusting is the best bit. Don't be frightened of it, and don't like
Just practice.
yeah. It always sounds really I cannot think of the word, but you're going to know what I mean. Silly when one says this, but like everybody makes mistakes. The amount that you can learn from making a mistake is tenfold more valuable than what you can learn in any other way, than doing something wrong and going, oh, that's what I shouldn't have done. And it's super important. So the most useful thing I can say about the dust is you can always add more, but you can't take it away. So only use a little bit at a time, which is why I always do this business of taking a little dust out of the pot, dabbing it on, and then it's almost like I'm trying to colour in the paper. But what I'm actually doing is making sure that the dust is evenly distributed within the bristles instead of sitting on the bristles. Because if you just dunk your brush in and then go straight on your flower, look how dark it is, but more than that, you're going to pick up clumps that are then going to become streaky. So you just want teensy tiny little bit. For this one here, we just want to come at, so small brush, and we just want to pick a few spots to just dust from the centre towards the edge to create these stripes. I'm going to pop a little bit of the dark green just on the edge there. And then what I'll do, so that these match the other ones, is I'm going to take my bigger brush again and a bit of my leaf green there. And I'm just going to come over the top just to soften down those stripes. So these I'm going to do with some leaf green, because we wanted these ones to be a bit duller than the others, just so that we've got some contrast there as a base. And we're going to paint over these, which is why I'm just adding this on very roughly. Deep green dust in this little one here, and I'm going to add a couple of drops of Rejuvenator Spirit. So Rejuvenator is a very high percentage alcohol, and that means that it will evaporate really quickly, which makes doing this sort of thing much easier because you haven't got to wait for it to dry. If you don't have Rejuvenator, then you can use a clear alcohol such as gin or vodka, and if you would rather not use booze, then you can use water. It just takes longer to dry. And all we're going to do is paint central vein, and then just bits coming out to the side like so. And they do look nice if you make the spokes, can we call them spokes?
Yeah, I guess.
Just a little bit, yeah, I suppose so. They are a little bit fatter at the centre end than at the edge end.
Tapered.
Tapered. Yeah, I can't paint and talk. We know this. So again, up the middle, and then those lines. And I'm just doing this very quickly. You can totally put a little bit more time and effort in than I am here. And the final flourish for these, once it's dried, is to just take a bit of deep green, what's name, dust, And this is a dusting technique that I use a lot, which is to be completely perpendicular with the edge and just flick it in, and you're going to get these darker edges with hardly anything sitting on the thing. So if I do it from the side there, you can see it really is just kind of flicking the brush at the edge. And I think those are quite nice looking stripy leaves now. Okay, so that's those. Right, we'll do these. So for these, small brush, bit of leaf green, and I just want to begin the look of the stripes. I mean, you just plop in some colour on really, just keep the brush strokes vertical, that's all that matters here. And I had there was one that did have the fruit on top. Here it is. So again, same green, vertical brush strokes. Don't worry about being too precise. Like so. And then for the pink bit on that, I'm just going to use a wee little bit of the violet pink dust. And again, a suitable one of the small brushes. And same thing, just vertical brush strokes to give it a little bit of texture in there. And then we'll paint these too. So I want a slightly paler paint. So when you're doing anything like this, like where you're mixing it with the rejuvenator, the more rejuvenator you do, the paler colour you're going to get, just like you would with watercolour paints. So I've just added a little bit more of the rejuvenator, and then we're just going to do those vertical stripes just there. And they're coming up a little bit pale, so let's just run over that once more. And to be fair, it does look a bit like a watermelon. Do you have any questions or anything? Because I can't talk and paint.
No.
And I'm doing that thing again, if you can see there, where I am. The hand that's holding the paintbrush is resting on the other hand, which is resting on the table, so that I have a nice stable base, and it is just my fingers that are trying to do the delicate movement, as opposed to my whole hand, my wrist, or indeed my entire arm, which would be much more difficult to get that sort of fine level of control with your whole arm there. It is so hot in here, Christopher.
Your computer sounds like it's going away with the time.
Well, yeah. Okay. And then tropical umbrellas with the cocktail, that's not a bad idea. So this is some of the violet pink, and you can see if you've made paints, especially if you've made them from dusts, they just dry out. So you can absolutely add the liquid back, rejuvenate it, haha, and go again. So that I'm just using to pop some stripes on here, like so.
Christine asks, are you putting the paint on the top of the dust stripes?
Either or.
Either or, does it really matter?
No, it doesn't really matter. It's just about adding a bit of texture and colour to it. And I'm going to pop a little bit of paint inside that wee flower too. Right, I can take my tiny berries and a little bit, I think, of the bright red there, which I'm going to use a mixture of the bright red and some violet pink and just dust these all over. So there's nothing too fancy about this, it's just about intensifying the colour on them slightly, making them a little bit brighter. Oh, sorry. So that always happens as I start making a mess, isn't it? There we are. So those are just a bit pinkier than they were before. Little flowers. Now these, I think we should do some bright magenta there. Slightly bigger brush. I'm going to do the same usual procedure. Take some out, dust it off. And these, I'm just going to come in the middle and just sort of draw the colour out and up each petal. And then I think I will follow that, we'll see, with a little bit of the violet pink to just deepen it in the middle. And I think that will be it on these, just sort of keep it simple. So in the little flowers, the paste colour that we used was just a teeny tiny little bit of magenta into our white. And then to dust them, I'm using some of the bright magenta dust, not the red, so bright magenta and a little bit of violet pink, which are in the pink sets, dust sets there. So yeah, let that work. So there's a little bit of variation to them as well. So that's a little bit of brown paint there that I'm just going to use to pop some onto the ends of the bananas there. Oh, little spot on the end. And I think I'm just going to leave it at that because they're so little. If I try to do anything else, I will probably make it worse. We do, we have some paint palettes on the way, don't we? With the brushes, if they ever arrive. I realise I've been saying that for months now, but it's just, well, apparently what it is. So that's a bit of brown for the stalk. And
spots on it.
I was thinking about it, but I suspect that
Too small.
Yeah, I think I'm going to...
too many and it look weird.
Yeah, I'm going to do more damage trying to add some spots than just leaving them as they are. Fairly pale brown, so I've got a fair old bit of liquid in there. And what I'm going to try to do is just, for now, paint the top of the snake tail. And I'd already decided that this side is going to be my front. So I'm going to worry about this bit first and then the rest of it later on. As in the back later on. There we are. I can't talk and paint, sorry. It's alright.
Very tense.
Just saying, because I do this every time. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about painting as opposed to like the making or the dusting, but I can't. There we are. And you can see if you did the scales all over, do you see doing this sort of fairly thin paint, it settles into the something that's not, there you go, it settles into those grooves. Right, so that's that, and then what I'm going to do is take a little bit more of my brown I'm going to pop that in there with a wee bit more Rejuvenator. Let's give that a mix. And I think I'm going to go for a little bit of the leaf green. And a little bit more. And a little bit more brown so that it's slightly darker. Again, apologies for the tubby. And then from what I saw earlier, Car sort of has, I don't know, sort of squarish pattern. I mean, you could add or not add or do whatever pattern you wanted to on your snake. But I think this is more or less, give or take, roughly, the right sort of colours. Yeah, the second coat on there is giving us a really nice bit of contrast between the two. Yes, it is Car. What have I been saying? Have I said something wrong there?
I don't know, so I was doing something else. I wasn't listening to you either. Smells like someone is
Having a barbecue.
having a barbecue.
Do you think they'll have us up round afterwards?
Maybe.
Do you know what? This is one of those things. It looked a little bit weird when I started doing it, but now that there's a bit more of it added on and everything's drying, it looks like how I imagined and wanted it to. I think there was a question there about the dusts and about them being sort of soft and blendable and whatnot. They are. So when we were producing them, making sure that they were absolutely mixable with themselves so that you can make more colours than what comes out the pot was really important, because I'm obsessive about colours. And in fact, each set comes with a wee little a mixing guide that sort of shows you how to make a number of other colours by mixing the ones in the set together. So yeah, they are, I mean, I know I'm going to say it, but anyway, they are really nice to work with. I am quite pleased with my snake tail.
It looks good.
I was not entirely convinced.
No, I've been dealing with some other things, and I haven't really seen it, and I look back, and that was, yeah.
And suddenly
cool.
it looked snakish.
Yeah, it looked like a snake tail.
Yeah, that'd do. Right, Chris, you need to talk because I've got a funny feeling.
You're going to zone out a bit once.
Yeah, that this is going to be really difficult to talk at the same time.
So,
in fact,
did you know that The Jungle Book was the last film that Walt Disney oversaw?
Did actually. I've heard that before.
I think he died during it, but they closed for a single day and then they went straight back out.
Blimey. That doesn't surprise me, somehow.
There was also a rhinoceros character that got cut.
In the Disney version?
Yes.
Is there a rhinoceros in the book?
I don't know. These are Disney-specific ones.
Oh, okay.
It was supposed to be called Rocky the Rhino. It was intended to be a dim-witted, bumbling, near-blind character that provides some comic relief. Okay,
so we can do the putting together bit. There we go. Find your words. So I'm just gonna do the whole thing with the Nile green tape.
And there was a sequel.
What, to the Jungle Book?
Yeah,
pretty much. I think like every single one has a sequel these days. Like a straight to.
It wasn't straight to video.
Was it not?
No.
Oh.
This article specifically said it didn't go straight to video.
This is a tape cutter and shredder, which we sell them. It is a little box, a yellow box of doom, and it's got 3 razor blades in it. They are really sharp, so do be careful. And you can pull the tape through it. Sometimes it gets gummed up, but most of the time it will give you beautifully quartered tape. Nikki, you do make me laugh. Right, I'm going to start with this. I'm just going to add one of those little berry bits into it. And then when I tape up the other ones, we'll add it as we go. Ooh. Maybe, because sometimes the lemon soup will be warm, isn't it? To better clean one's fingers.
Yes.
So perhaps what we need is at regular intervals, Chris, you could go and prepare and bring in.
Hot? No, I just get
Or
you a
maybe,
bit of cloth, I think.
maybe a nice hot towel.
No.
Cleanse the fingers. Right. So these, you just... I'll attach the tape to a first one. And then they are very, very simple because they bend back already because of the shape we gave them when we made them. You can accentuate that a little, bending the wire back. I may, at this stage, add in my fruits. There. And then I was playing around with mixing up the big leaves and the little leaves, but I decided that it actually looked better if you kept the bigger ones on one side and the smaller ones on the other. Which side is up to you, or you could do all big ones or small ones, whatever. And in fact, somebody asked just there, and I saw it, but for some reason didn't react. Yeah, any of this you could absolutely, I think, use on a Moana cake, totally, because it's just...
It's the colour and the shapes. Yeah, well, some of the shapes of these, really. But
yeah, consider it all sort of generically tropical, is the thing. So, yes. It is often useful to start with the bigger things and add the smaller ones. And I know for a fact, because this is the format that most of the sort of Sunday sprays take, that we're going to want to like make a sort of almost like a fan shape of leaves at the background and then put the other bits and pieces on top. So I will begin with these, and I think it will be nice to tape them together like that. So, Chris, my tummy is embarrassing me. So, because I'll be able to see the stem, I'm just running some green tape up. You could totally have made these on green wire. I, however, do not. And we're just going to pop them together like that. And that is quite a sensible starting point there. I've got the thinnest piece of tape, which is kind of annoying, but never mind. I think let's have that a little bit lower down. So let's bring that tape down further. So we can do one of those there, and I think another a little bit further off to the side. Maybe they go that way round, yes. Brown tape, I've got some, thank you.
Good.
Which I'm just going to run up the wire of the bananas. So the reason for sorting out the bananas is because I thought that if I come and bend those back, these bananas are still a little bit wet, which isn't really helping.
Because they're quite thick. Oh no. Banana escaped.
An escaped banana, yeah. That'll do. I feel like these look a bit like banana leaves, which is why it suddenly I decided that the bananas needed to go there. There we go. Right, and then maybe we can start plopping in. Oh, suddenly these feel a bit big and intimidating. Right, because of the shape of this, I'm going to have to bend this wire to a really peculiar angle in the hope that... There we are.
We need to ask, do you stretch the tape before twiddling it on, or do you stretch as you twiddle?
Either, as long as once it's wrapped around,
Yeah.
it is stretched.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Because otherwise what happens is that you think you've done this beautiful tight, neat little bit of taping, and then it stretches on you and suddenly it's not holding its shape anymore. Okay, so I want something in the background just there, I think. Kind of fill that white bit there. So let's tape that on and then think about... Oh, I've made these a really blooming awkward shape.
Can you not hook those bananas over that leaf?
Probably. Can move this one out of the way a little bit more. There we are. What else have we got? There's some flowers. So we could maybe have a couple of these sort of here-ish. Yeah, that's going to work. I need another bit of tape. Can you hear that clicking?
Yeah.
So that is because this leaf is not on quite a thick enough piece of wire, so it's moving.
Moving around a lot.
Yeah. Right. What else? I really like this now. I didn't think I was going to, but actually. Right. So if he hides over there, and then I could pop... Would that work if all of that was on that side, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, maybe... That actually... No. First way was better. Right. Give me just a second. Sometimes these are nice and easy to put together, and then sometimes they cause us a bit of trouble. And I think that this evening we've got one that's going to be a bit annoying. So if that goes just there, something along those lines, and I might pop this other one of those there because he looked a bit lonely on its own. Okay, and actually the bananas need to be higher. So what I'm going to do is take my tweezers and I'm going to come to the back, locate my banana wire, and just try to see, which I can just about, if I can grip it and just move them up a little bit. And if you're going to do this, you need to make sure that you're holding it really hard so that you don't sort of slip, but be firm and gentle with your movement so that you have control of it, which I realise is a bit of an oxymoron, but it sort of, it does work. Now we have pawpaws, which, oh, I told you this was going to be awkward. Oh, this is the most awkward one we've done for some time. Which, if I bring that out, so I brought it out at 90 degrees like this, and then I'm going to bend it up because that just gives us a better angle. And I'm going to do the same with that one. I'll pop Okay. So I'm just going to take a moment to tape all of this up because I've got a right mash of wires there and I don't want anything to move or fall or do what it shouldn't do. So I'm going to add some more tape. I swear it's gotten hotter in here.
Sun's gone down.
Right. No, you can't shut the window because I will expire. We're just going to have to listen to the neighbours talking. Seriously. We'll do... Okay, so I think this other leaf down here will look nice. So let me get that attached. And having done that, I think that just there is going to be a good spot to put a third little flower. And what I'm going to do, and this is going to be dead awkward, this leaf won't stay put because my tape is sitting down here, it's too far down. So what I'm going to try and do just now is feed the tape. Can I do it? Probably behind this pawpaw. There we go. Because then I can wrap it a little bit higher up, and that is going to very much help that stripy leaf to stay put. There we are. These are never the neatest taping jobs because one's always adding such an awful lot of stuff that the concern becomes more about making everything stay in place. And it always hurts this hand holding onto it because you grip in so tight and they're not unheavy. Right. So that's that. This one, and it's clattering. There we are. It's driving me nuts listening to that. What have we got? I've got one more little flower that could come down here, I think will look very nice because again pink and green is just always pleasing. Chris, they're turning me into a bingo game.
Started.
How? Oh, what with that? Yeah, okay, fair enough. Maybe that's what we do. Right, so one more of those there. I feel like there should be... Okay, so we'll put some more pawpaws in down there. However, there's a slightly awkward gap here and where the snake is. So I want to try and take... Oh, would you look at that? It's as if... as if that was meant to be. Yeah. And that is because it's not quite dry, it's spinning on its wire ever so slightly, but we can nudge it back into place. If I bring that round slightly, snake can come forwards a bit, which means that these leaves can as well. And if I bend it forwards from the stem, that should stop it wibbling too much. And I think that we have space. Oh, one moment. Yeah, let's bring that back round. See, everything sort of moves a bit, so you do have to kind of keep going.
Keep looking at it.
Keep looking at it, keep going round and sort of repositioning all of it. But yeah, I think we can stick our last pawpaw there, and we can have this one that's just green go just there. And I think I'm not going to worry about the fact that I've got a few bits and pieces I haven't used. Quite like the position of the pawpaws in the end. I was not so impressed at the beginning. I will tear that off there, and just because I can't help myself, I'm just going to wedge these bananas in down there, safe in the knowledge that this will likely never even leave this room, let alone go anywhere else, which means that it does not matter that it is literally just wedged in, because yeah. So that, it would be nice if the snake was just slightly more prominent. Shall I shove that in there, or is that too much? I think that's probably too much.
No, I think you're done.
But that can come around slightly, that can go just there. And that, my friends, is our little jungle book one. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Having reached the end, I have to say, given the choice, I'd rather stay in the jungle with the talking animals, I think, than go live in the village. But what can you do? We'll see you again next time. Take care.